So this is it, really. This is the card that was shown to the Frontex. This is the card that's been in circulation since 2018. This is the card that was produced at the Thiever Deportation Centre in 2019. This is the card that was used to gain entrance to the Tisimvolios Tisipokratias in 2019. This is the card that was used to file the documents of a case file bundle regarding a case of a false claim that was made against the people of the community regarding a charge in 2018, and the signature that was on the documentation that is obviously now being ignored is their own judge of the Tuprota DKO Samos. This card exemplifies the fact that you have not got and you will not make a contract or assign your implied equitable rights that you haven't really got to any other foreign corporate state. So this is the signature of the Asagalia of the Tuprota DKO. That's their grammatea. There is Minister EMOVEN, and there is the seal. There is the date, and that was for filing some documents regarding a claim. This is the Hellenic Republic's police stamp here, which is they're actually denying themselves now, saying that their authenticity of this documentation that created an ascension number as a legal filer inside the Securities Exchange Commission in Washington was this using their stamp. You can see there we've got Minister EMOVEN at the address there, and this was for a form ID with an ascension number inside the Edgar filing system to give it a SIC. So EMOVEN, not Minister EMOVEN, but EMOVEN is a legal filer. Here is the documentation from Queen's Bench, which is an order when we put coronavirus in the court, and a person was identified as 010 by video link in the case reference Charlie Oscar 1814-2021. This is where we've got her on record, the Right Honourable, she calls herself, or the Honourable Justice Stein. Here is her signature, made on the 10th of June 2021. This document was what stopped coronavirus being used in England and Wales, because the burden of proof was determined to be too great a burden to use coronavirus or COVID in claims, and any claims were dismissed without merit. Now, what has happened in the meantime, obviously, is the implied presumption. The documentation should have been considered. This is consideration of foreign decisions under Article 323 here of the Greek Civil Code, and it states that any foreign court's decision should be considered, and also there are provisions under the law of Article 905 of the Civil Code Procedure Rules that it can be enforced. Now, this is why they did not want me leaving the custody of the police since December, because if I had gone and removed the signs like they'd asked me to, or they asked Nolson to, I would have been, I could have stamped the document, the order, and done that, and then got one of these, which is Kakodikia, which is from the Tisimvolios Tisipokratias. This is K10. This was issued on the 24th of the 5th, 2019, regarding the identification process of being what was valid ID. Is it a valid ID if I use a bank card to identify somebody with? And obviously it's not. So this case that they did materialize or try to manifest was given a kakodikia, which means literally somebody shit on your rights, but it also means it's a judicial review. So under Law 693 1977, there is an article called Article 11, which says that anybody who's got one of these kakodikias issued, which is issued here, set for a hearing on the 3rd of December 2019. I took this document back to the state's police in Samos to see whether it would be upheld or not. It wasn't. They ignored their own Greek constitution. They ignored their own law, and they executed a sentence that had a kakodikia applied to it. Now, what they've said now is, well, maybe they didn't know. This is the certificate of service. This says the Ministry of Justice and People's Rights, Human Rights. And this is the protocol number of the filing. This is a receipt to say that on the 12th of the 6th, 2019, Minister EMOVEN again went in there and filed a document into the minister's office, and it is signed. This is actually a copy. The original's kept safe. And they ignored that. So what we've got them to do is ignore their own codification and state that their codification, their method of validation, their seals are invalid. So then what happened is they executed the sentence, as you probably all know, and we told them obviously we were only going to do 90 days anyway, and so they changed it to 90 days. Then, because their goal was to deport me. Now here you can see this is a snapshot from the Frontex. Frontex are the self-appointed border control and patrol of the European states, and it clearly states there where does Frontex come in, what is its standing. It is the first uniform service that Europe had created as a super state. Now, what it says in here is that non-EU nationals cannot be returned because they simply can't be deported. So on the 20th of December 2021, the public prosecutor turned to me and he said, well, screaming at me, we're looking for a country to deport you to. So at that point, they knew that they couldn't deport me. Now, under the law, the deportation law, Article 74, it clearly states that at the first moment it becomes apparent that deportation is not achievable, then the party that you're wishing to deport is obligatory. It is obligatory to release them immediately. So what they do then is they make a piece of paper from the local police to imply that you need to be detained without any charge, with a big maybe baby. That we've got one woman who was here and they said, we don't like her face. Look at her face, she's very dangerous. They've written on this document that's got my photograph, or a photograph of somebody that vaguely resembles me, on there, with a name on there that nobody's claimed, and they've written on there that the place of origin is null. So now, unless we've got a new EU member state called null, then how on earth is anybody ever going to be able to deport me to null? Unless you mean the nations of the universal law locations, which is a nice little abbreviation that they've given to us. That's what it must mean. So we're waiting for the embassy from the state of null to issue the travel documents that are required for Minister EMOVEN to be able to be deported from the rock upon which she was born to some foreign corporate state somewhere other than null. So obviously null doesn't exist, so they're waiting for a piece of paper from an embassy that doesn't exist, which also obviously breaks again Article 4A and 4B of the appellacy law, the deportation law of Article 74. So this really just compounds all the fraud. What I was threatened with yesterday by an agent from Frontex, Helena. Thank you very much, Helena, for putting yourself into the into the game, if you like. You called it a game and said that I was playing with them when I'm actually, it's a game that I will not play. I will not play human trafficking and equity laundering, and that is why I do what I do to restore the rule of law. So this game that they want to play was compounded yesterday by this implied threat that you know that they are going to deport you, where to and how. If even on your website it clearly says that anybody from a non-EU member, the last time I looked, even if I was that thing, claiming to be that thing from that non-geographical state claiming to be the UK, over and under your own terms and conditions, whenever you made that website, it became obvious that you could not deport somebody then. Then, if I am dangerous, then why would you be offering me asylum?